Hi and welcome to another BREWHA video. In this video I'm here with home brewer Chris Sweet in his garage, and I'm going to be talking to him about his brewing with the large BIAC. Now Chris, can you tell us a little bit about why you chose the BIAC, and you also went from a medium to a large, if you can talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, you know, I first saw your BIAC on Craigslist, I think it was, and I was blown away by the simplicity and the beauty of the design. It was exactly what I was doing, fermenting in the carboy and not transferring from a secondary to primary to secondary. So I had to have it. It was a beautiful size. It fit in the corner over there. It was great to look at, but it just didn't make enough beer. Because when you start making beer with these things, your friends are going to love you. It's easy to clean. Quality's great. You've been great to deal with. It's everything I wanted. Here we are in Brew Day, yeah.
All right, on.
What else?
Yeah, if you could just tell us a little bit about mashing, sort of how you do it, maybe your setup here with the hoist, and anything sort of around the heat up time, sort of how you go about that.
Today I have a pale ale going, 36 kilos of grain. I heated the water up last night to strike temperature. We dump the grain in, 90-minute mash time, where we'll go up to mash out temperature. So that's an hour and a half. Then we'll go to boil.
Okay.
I don't know.
And in terms of putting the grain in, it's quite high here. How do you get it in?
The grain is in 5-gallon buckets. I climb the ladder and toss it in. Usually this batch will have four buckets.
And then you stir it in with your paddle.
And stir it in with the paddle, yeah. Get it all nice and wet. I preheat this thing overnight, so all the stainless is up to temperature. Everything's warm. So by the time I stir the grain in, get it all wet, that thing's up to temperature. I start the pump first, the recirculating, and then I start the timer.
You're using a pump, you circulate the whole period?
I circulate the whole period. I try to get about 4 to 5 complete changes of the liquid in the mash time.
Okay,
so it's just a very small amount of water running through the pump. Takes the fines off the bottom, filters it through the grain bed.
Yeah. Okay. And you said that you start heating the night before.
Yeah. I just heat it up so that everything's warm. All the stainless is warm, the water's warm. Chance to release some of the chlorine that's in the water.
And then when you're done mashing, how do you remove it? How do you get the grain out?
We have a hoist. I hoist it up slowly because it's a lot of weight. Even though the hoist will handle it, I go very slowly, just inch it up. And when it's up in the air, then I sparge. I put 30 liters of water through the grain bed. I use cold water. Some guys use hot. I use cold. It works just fine because the grain bed's already warm, so it heats the water up as it goes through. I bring that up to 190 liters and roll the kettle out of the way and roll the wheelbarrow in and tip it into the wheelbarrow.
And then for heat up time, from your mash temp to full boil, how long does it normally take? You've got two 5,500 watt elements?
Two 5,500 watt elements, yeah. I think I have a 6-minute rise and then a 8 minutes on mash out temperature. And then up to boil might take, you're only going from 168 to 212, about half an hour. It's very fast.
So Chris, you didn't go with the BREWHA power box. You have your own setup here. Is it an Auber setup? If you could just talk a little bit about it, any configurations that you had to use to get it to work with the BIAC, any programming control issues, just if you could tell us a little bit about that.
I had a lot of parts and pieces kicking around, so this box has been through a few transformations. I had a different controller, didn't work, so I went with the ramp step controller from Auber, which is this one, the PID. Initially I had the medium BIAC, and I had to modify it to have 2 elements instead of 1. And then I also have the DSPR1, so I can go to a manual control, and this will give me a percentage of the elements. Works very well. And then I use the alarm contacts from the PID for my, can control my DSPR1 for fermentation temperature, around 3%. So the alarm temperature will be 68. If it drops below 68, kicks in the DSPR1, and it works beautifully for fermentation.
And then for the chill, how are you chilling? Do you have a glycol? Are you using municipal water?
Presently I'm using municipal water. The municipal water comes out at 46 degrees Fahrenheit, and I can bring from a boil down to pitching temperature in, not even, about 40 minutes.
Okay.
That's pretty amazing. After the fermentation's over, I have a bit of water running through it to bring it down to city water temperature, around 50 degrees, about as good as I can do right now. And it's such a small trickle, it's unbelievable what it takes to cool this kettle, keep it chilly. It's not warm out right now, but still it's dropping at 10 to 15 degrees in here, Fahrenheit.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it works really nice.
Okay, well, thank you very much for your time today, Chris, and thank you for watching this video. If you have any questions, as always, just feel free to send them to us using the form on the website. Thanks for watching.